got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Cabbie Richards. It's My Guy Mondays. So the way this works is I have three of my friends come in and we discuss a variety of topics. On today's show, we have some stand-up comedy. We talk about basketball. And we talk about music, pop culture, and we finish with some Halloween. On the streets of Toronto, on the weekend, no word of a lie, I'm walking home from a night out, heading to the Pita Pit, because that's my route on King Street West, and there's a girl with a container of McDonald's French fries, which after 2 a.m., they're as potent as any hard narcotic, be it meth, be it heroin. Like McDonald's French fries are like crack cocaine. This girl is standing in the middle of King Street West feeding these guys in a truck her French fries. Like feeding them as though they were animals in the zoo, because she'd like feed one guy and then she'd like flick her French fries at another dude and he was snapping at the air like he was a dog reaching for biscuits. It was pretty funny. Even funnier because it was like 3-something in the morning. Halloween. Best time of year. Is this the weirdest World Series of all time? Game 3 ends on an obstruction call. Game 4 ends on a pickoff move? Koji with a pickoff move? Colton at first base? Red Sox, Cardinals tied at 2. This is a great series. The teams are so evenly matched, and I, like many of you, think this series will go 7 games, but who knows? I love how the Red Sox celebrated and how Johnny Gomes celebrated his home run. First of all, he had a bomb. Then he's hyped, banging his chest so much so that his jersey opens up as he's rounding the bases. If the Red Sox played the Atlanta Braves in the World Series, I wonder if the Braves would just start throwing at Red Sox batters' heads because they would feel that the Red Sox are showing them up. Because the Atlanta Braves are taking it upon themselves to be the fun police, to be the disciples of the unwritten rules of baseball, and you can't show other teams up, blah, blah, blah. It's the World Series. I love how they pull on each other's beards, too. As a dude that's put his face in many grown men's beards, as weird as that sounds, I think that celebration's awesome. Last week I teased I have a Boston Red Sox story. Here's the Boston Red Sox story. In 2004, I'm in Boston covering the ALCS. Yankees at Red Sox. Game 3, Hideki Matsui is like Godzilla, but like the PlayStation version. Dude had like 7 RBI. The Yankees pound the Red Sox. I think it was 18-7 or 19-7. I believe the Red Sox had 19 runs. Game 4. My friend Andre lives in Boston. I'm at the stadium because I'm working. Andre's there as a fan. The game goes to extra innings. Poppy comes to bat, I think in the 12th. We have a group of like 5 or 6 of us. We are now in a luxury box because one of Andre's friends works at Fenway Park. She called him when the group in that box left in like the 8th inning. No faith. So we go up there and we raid the luxury box. Now it's like the 12th inning or 13th or 14th inning. Poppy hits a bomb to right field to win the game. I was so ignorant, me personally, celebrating in that suite. We are jumping up and down. I felt like the whole building would collapse because that's how raucous it was at Fenway Park on that night in 2004. Game 4 of the ALCS. This is the game where the Red Sox turned the series around. I must have thrown 7 or 8 empty bottles of Mike's Hard Lemonade or empty beer cans out into the lower bowl of Fenway Park, and it wouldn't have even mattered. I mean, I'm sure it hit somebody, and I'm a total jerk for it, but I don't think they would have noticed because the euphoria of Red Sox Nation was beyond the charts. It was in an atmosphere beyond Earth. I could have punched a dude in the face and been like, Johnny Damon, or Pedro's the best, or like, this is like, I was like, you look like A-Rod, and just jack the dude with an uppercut. I don't think it would have mattered. I saw Game 5. Poppy again delivers with like a clutch, kind of a bloop single in Game 5. Again in extra innings. Boston completes the greatest comeback in the history of baseball. Goes on to the World Series and wipes the floor with the St. Louis Cardinals. 4-game sweep. Nobody cared. I don't even know if anybody watched the World Series because the ALCS was unbelievable. That's my Boston story, and I like to share honest moments with you guys, even though I was 100% a jerk on that night 9 years ago. And someone should probably punch me in my face or give me a double jackhammer to the back of my head as a result. If you hear this, please don't do it to me, but I'm saying I deserve that. And now, My Guy Monday begins. It's his favorite day. What could make Cabbie feel this way? My guy, my guy, my guy. Talking about My Guy Mondays. The first time I met this man, we were at a mutual friend's place about 8 or 9 years ago. He cracked some jokes, many jokes in the gathering, celebrating an engagement of our friend Will. Back then, I didn't know that his comedic voice will become one of the sharpest and loudest and profound in Canada, known simply as Tricks. Wow. He's a super talented stand-up comedian and has traveled across the country and internationally with his friend Russell Peters. Welcome to My Guy Mondays, Tricks.
Wow, that's the nicest intro anyone has ever given me.
Well, but that's all real stuff, though.
The nicest, profound voice and loud. Normally, it's the things that are said are more meaner than that.
Are meaner?
Yeah.
On Twitter and Instagram, you can find him at Comedian Tricks. That's Tricks with 2 X's. I remember I've been to, I think, 6 or 7 of your shows and a couple of your DVD tapings, and I would always compliment you on your ability to write different kinds of jokes, and jokes that's universal, like the stuff about elementary school. I love the Red Rover joke, how girls are mean in elementary school.
That all happened.
Yeah,
that all happened.
And then I really love how you're able to, like, when you imitate your dad and like impressions I love, and then like like how Russell Peters exploded on YouTube. It's a big reason was because he spoke for a group of people that had no voice in stand-up comedy. You also do a similar thing because there are African Americans in comedy, but not a lot of comedians of African descent in stand-up comedy.
There's one. I mean, there's Michael Blackson, but
okay, but you're funnier than him because I saw you guys.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna. No, I'm gonna.
You don't need to be humble here.
No,
you don't need to be humble here.
The humble is outside. I'm gonna be. And please don't think I'm being cocky. But
No. I will vouch. I am co-signing. I've seen you guys on the same stage, and you murdered that stage. I think I tweeted you came out with gasoline boots.
Yes.
And then you just ignited the place. It was last year. It was like the Comedy Cup. What was it called?
Yes, it was the rematch is actually in 3 weeks.
So there were three comedians of Caribbean descent and 3 comedians of various African descent.
And we gave them a beating. We did.
Well, but it was like your set was like worth like 3 comedians. So it was really like it was really like 6 versus 3.
You saw what happened the first round, Cabbie. Okay, we got destroyed.
Jay Martin was he came out hard.
Yeah, he did not want to lose. It's a West Indies thing. They don't want to lose, especially to Africans. They don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And you should have heard them backstage. As soon as that round was over, I was like, okay, somebody send Africa some money. You should have heard the jokes backstage. Send Africa some money because it's a drought now. And I'm just like, wow. So now I have to go out there and be. I had a whole different set planned until I saw that round. I was like, okay, that's it. I can't do this set.
The thing about you is because you can speak to that Caribbean audience, and you can speak patois, you can speak that language, and you have shared experiences with a lot of people who are first-generation Canadians whose parents are from the Caribbean.
I was raised by Jamaicans,
right?
Which is, and I don't mean to diss my parents, but
okay. So where are your parents from?
My parents are African.
No, but what country? Africa's got like 52.
I sound like those redundant people that are like, yeah, you're from Africa? Yeah, my friend's from Senegal. And that doesn't mean anything to me, just because I'm from Africa doesn't mean I know your friend from Senegal. My parents are from West Africa. They're from Ghana, right? But I used to get babysat by a lot of Jamaicans. That's why I could pick up the accent, and I know what they're talking about when they have their hidden lingo, and I'm able to do jokes for them. Even like performing in Jamaica, I was like a star because they were.
Wait, you went to Jamaica to perform?
I did perform in Jamaica, which was terrifying.
Wow, because that can't be an easy audience to please.
God. You think everybody says Toronto's the screwface capital? Let me just go on record and say that Jamaicans are the nicest people in Jamaica. They're nice. In Jamaica, they're nice. Here, they have to prove. No, they come on, West Indies people. You know it's true. Like the Jamaicans here are extra Jamaican. Like they have to prove to you that they're Jamaican. But they are the most beautiful people on earth. But their crowds that pay to see shows are serious. Like you cannot be horrible on stage. You cannot. They throw bottles at their own artists. So when you're
Heinekens and Red Stripes.
It's not even like they don't give cups. Like here we give cups. They don't give cups there. It's bottles. So you are literally dodging, and it's not one. It's like this is 2,000 people, and 1,500 of them don't like you. All of them are throwing their bottles, and they're mad that they have to throw their beer bottles at you and wasted their beer, so they get someone else's bottle and throw more bottles. So I'm side stage mortified.
What jokes did you tell in Jamaica? That's a different audience, obviously, than here in Toronto.
It is, but they love me because I'm an African guy who can do their accent, and if I'm going to talk about them and make fun of them, it's going to be accurate information. So they respected that. See, they don't like when you, like a lot of Americans go there with this. I don't know why Americans sound Irish when they do a Jamaican accent. They do. And they go there and like, oh, well, I'm Jamaica, everything's Irie. And everyone's sitting there going, we don't talk like that. But me, I come there and I give you facts. I did a domino joke about how they play dominoes. And I saw people laughing so hard, they were throwing chairs. I've never seen that in my life. Like, you ever watch Def Jam?
Yeah,
where they're all rolling around.
The parodies of it are,
Yeah, because black people laugh like they're on fire. So these guys are, they run around. It's like they're rolling on the ground like they're trying to put themselves out. And I'm like, why? Okay, I know I'm funny, but it's not. Come on, dude, it's not that serious. I did the domino joke about
Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you.
Give the audience a little slice of the domino.
The gist of it is I talk about how when Jamaicans play dominoes, they are so boastful. Like when white people are playing Scrabble, they just put the letters down and that's it. Even if they get a triple word score, they may high five somebody else in the room. That's the farthest it goes. Jamaicans, when they do any move, they are talking and they're hyping themselves up, and it's just a move. It's just putting the domino down. They didn't win yet, but they're just making all this noise, and they haven't even won yet. And that's what I was imitating, and everybody in the audience was laughing because they all know who I'm talking about. There's always that one guy. I was like, oh boy, somebody's going to get. Oh, yes, I win, and it's like we haven't even played yet. Like, how did you win? And then he does all these things, and when it's his turn, he does a speech before his move. He does a speech, and everyone's sitting there going, "Dude, can you just play? Like it's not that serious." And then after the speech, he's like, "I pass," and we're like, "Really? You did all of that just to pass?" And when I said that punchline, the pass, I'm not even trying to make you laugh, Cabbie. People were throwing chairs. And I was like, oh my God. And it's a combination of rush, adrenaline, and fear. Because I'm like, are they mad that I made fun of them? Or are they laughing? Is this laughter? And then in the airport, when I was leaving, I couldn't even get to my bags because this aired all over Jamaica. Like it came on television.
Nice.
And then I couldn't even get to my bags. People were like, you're the one that was talking about how you know about dominoes. And I was like, I play, I guess. And everywhere I went in that airport, everybody's like, yo, you are funny. When are you coming back here?
Amazing.
Dad.
Amazing.
So yeah, I won them over. Thank God.
So I mentioned Russell Peters, and he speaks to his audience, and that's, you know, and that's a main reason why he is so popular globally. I just watched his latest special on Netflix last night called Notorious. And Russell does a lot of crowd work. When I see you on stage, you have like prepared sets. And I was listening to an interview with Jerry Seinfeld. Alec Baldwin did a podcast recently, and Seinfeld said when he gets on stage, his interaction with the audience is he's there to work. So he's like, he doesn't really do sort of the pleasantries. He's just like, okay, you want the jokes? I'm giving you the jokes. And I suppose my question to you is, are you more of the Seinfeld approach where you're there just to, you know, people pay to laugh and you're just going to give it to them? Or are you more like Russell, where Russell really interacts with his audience and builds his material out of that interaction?
Well, okay. People need to understand with Russell, that's what people are coming to see. With Russell, people want to be made fun of because he's so accurate with the cultures, like the countries and their accents. People love seeing him and hearing him do the accents and talking about their countries. So that's what they want to see. So I've seen Russell go on stage and just go into material, and people are like, no, but what about the Chinese accent? You want to hear the Chinese accent?
Give me the Korean one.
Right. So in his defense, he does what he knows his crowd wants. For me, I'm not an accent guy. You know, I don't talk about different countries and stuff. That isn't my style. My style is I want you laughing from the minute I come on stage. That's just me. I want you laughing immediately, and I want you laughing and begging for me to stay on the stage. I want you not being able to breathe. You know, Seinfeld is more come on stage, you know, premise. He gives you the premise, and then he kind of just builds and kind of makes you think like him, and it's kind of cool and insightful. Whereas Russell is like, everyone is dying for him to make fun of the guy with the pink shirt in the front row, because he'll put that guy on a big screen, and it's like this big interactive. But that's what Russell has trained his audience to love. So that's why he does that. If I started doing that, my audience would be like, okay, no, get to your jokes. You know?
I once heard, I'm sorry I'm referencing Seinfeld again, but Seinfeld, Ricky Gervais did this amazing 1 hour special where he had Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, and himself in a room, and they were talking about their process. And Seinfeld said he believes that people go there for the hits. He said he believes that stand-up comedians are like, not like rock stars, but artists. Like, if you go to see the Eagles, you want Hotel California. If you go to see, you know, you don't want like the new stuff. You want like the hits. So Seinfeld gives them the hits, whereas Louis C.K. and Chris Rock as well, they write new material. Louis C.K. is like a comedian's comedian. He generates a new hour of material every year, which is like a pace that no one can keep up with. Chris Rock says it takes him about a year, 2 or 3 years to get a new hour of material.
It depends on the level you're at. Like with me, I'm kind of still on the come up. So people expect more from me. I think once you're at those guys' levels, like the Louis C.K.'s and the Chappelles and the Chris Rocks of the world, people are paying to see them, so they could talk about anything. They don't really necessarily have to do that. They do have jokes that people know and love. Like, for example, you know, everybody wants to hear Dave Chappelle talk about Rick James and the catchphrase. And then, you know, I'm sure Seinfeld has some greatest hits and stuff like that. When you're at that level, yeah, they do have, like, jokes that they know and love and they may want to hear. But with me, they don't want to hear the same stuff over and over again. Like, I've gone to shows and girls will be like, okay, I'll come to your show, but you're not going to do the joke about the bus stop again, are you? You know, like, it's like I'm still in the I gotta prove myself stage. Those guys, people are coming to see them. They can talk about pencils, and everyone's just gonna laugh because they're just in awe of them being there, right? But I have to constantly be writing new stuff, unfortunately.
Trex, I think I've seen you. Yeah, I think I've seen you 6 or 8 times, and I don't know that I think maybe I've heard the same joke, like that same maybe once or twice in like 8 times of seeing you. So I know that you're constantly pumping out new material.
You have to.
And
I have to.
And what I really love about your style is kind of the way that, and I hope you don't mind this comparison, the way that Kevin Hart or even Ray Romano, like Kevin Hart does and Ray Romano does wife and kids jokes.
Right.
Everybody can relate. It doesn't matter your race or your culture. Like, everybody can relate because those things are universal. And you write, when you write stuff about elementary school or just like talking to girls, or the thing that you do, which I really laugh, which is specific to you, is like when you imitate, some like, new Canadians, like new African dudes that approach are just overly aggressive when they talk to women, like white ladies. It's that to me just really makes me laugh. And just, when you say, "Come here, I'll bite your face," like
no African says that, by the way.
Okay, no, yes, but
just so people are clear, the Africans, just in case there's like some white girls listening to this right now, the Africans do not bite people's faces, so you're safe. You're safe at Aria or wherever you go for that good old EDM music.
When you go to, oh my gosh, what's the one at Bathurst and King? The Hoxton.
Yes, you're good.
Or if you're going to the
Ossington.
Ossington,
You're fine.
Levac Block.
Africans will not be there biting your face. No. Well, if they are, then they blame security. They shouldn't be in there.
So when you get off stage, because like you mentioned, I know that you've performed with Russell Peters in New York.
I have.
And you just spoke about this, this 2,000 person venue in Jamaica, which you
was insane.
When and when you're feeling the adrenaline of the and you're getting the feedback of the audience, the feedback is immediate, and you get this rush. How long does it take you to decompress once you get off stage? Like, how long does it take you to just come down off that high?
Oh wow!
And then you can just go back to being you.
I think when I get home,
yeah,
because I'm a very interactive dude. Like, I love hanging out after show. I don't like being that guy that goes to his dressing room and just like locks himself away from fans. Like, I'll go to the lobby and like just hang out with fans. And sometimes they'll be like, "Yo, come with us for a drink," and I'll go for the drink
because you'll get a free one or several.
Well, not because it's free.
No,
like,
they're gonna buy you free drinks.
That's just too black. Like, I was raised.
They're gonna buy you free drinks.
I do get free shots, but like I feel like I remember what it's like to be a fan, and I still am a fan. So I remember what it's like meeting someone that I've always wanted to meet and hanging out with them, and that feeling of hanging out with them. So
who was one of those people?
I got to hang out. Man, I've hung out with. Where do I start? Juvenile, Fat Joe.
Yeah, but is this in your DJ days, not your comedy days?
You mean comedians? I've hung out with Bill Burr. I've hung out with Bill Burr. I've hung out with Rogan. I've hung out with Dane Cook. I've hung out with Bobby Lee.
So when you're in those situations, do you kind of lay in the cut and just sort of soak it in, or do you want to prove yourself as, like, comedically, like you can be in that circle and
I don't
be amongst them?
I get really shy around them. Like, even with around Russell, I don't, because I know comedians are always trying to test out material on each other, and I do not talk around the legends. Like, even with Russell, I even try to find words sometimes, and I've known Russell for years. Russell's like a friend, but I still get weird around him because of who he is, and because it's hard to make comedians laugh. And I'll crack a joke into, and to see when he doesn't laugh, I'm just like, oh God, he doesn't think I'm funny. Great. He's not going to help me at all now. He's going to kick me out of his house, put me in a hotel. It's going to happen. It's coming. But Russell's that dude. Like, but one of the best things about hanging out with a guy like Russell is not even the fact that you get to hang out with Russell. It's just the advice. It's the fact that I can pick his brain about this business, because he's a guy who made it. And I feel like if you're that successful, you can teach me how to be successful. So I'm always asking him questions, and I'm always like, just asking little things. Even when I come out from like, yo, did I do anything that was like hacky? Was it hacky material? Like, to be straight, like, was it horrible? And he will be like, yo, see that joke you did about blah, blah, blah? Don't do that again. So many people do that. And I take his word for it, because you can tell if it's coming from a good place and he's genuinely trying to help you.
Here's the thing. Okay, so you mentioned hacky, and I know a lot of comedians think other comedians are hacky, and the audience, we experience it differently because we're not so in tuned with your guys' community, like the community of comedians.
Right.
An interesting thing, you mentioned Joe Rogan, and I remember he went after. Oh, what was that? I think it was another comedian had lifted someone's joke and then he blew him up. There was like a famous YouTube.
Joe Rogan called out Carlos Mencia.
Right, for stealing stealing another comedian's joke.
Yes, that's a huge taboo.
Okay, so that's a huge no-no. You can't plagiarize in stand-up comedy
at all.
So here, but in music and certainly hip hop, which we love, when you spit a Biggie verse, you're paying homage. When Jay-Z says, and when he quotes Biggie, when he says, "When the Remy's in the system, ain't no telling will I love him, will I diss him." That's what they be yelling. I'm a pimp by blood,
verse,
not relay Sean. Y'all be chased on. I replace them, huh?
That's a full Biggie lyric.
That is a full Biggie lyric.
Yes.
So when Jay-Z says it, he doesn't. There's no wrath from the other MCs. Why do you think that is in comedy?
You know what it is? I think it's because somewhere comics, we're very protective.
Very proprietary about your material?
Because here's the thing. When Jay-Z, if Jay-Z does a Biggie verse, it doesn't take anything away from Biggie. Like if Biggie was alive still, like for example, I mean, Drake recently did it. He has a song called Worst Behavior on his new album where he fully lips a Mace verse. And a Mace lyric.
Yeah.
But in music, it doesn't take anything away from Mace. But in comedy, if I take a Russell joke and I get the HBO special out of it, it takes away from Russell. Because now when Russell does it, everyone's just like, that's Trix's joke. We don't want to hear that. It's very weird. And I know it's almost the same thing, but in comedy, I just feel like it's way more sensitive and way more can happen for you with your material, because that all it takes is the right joke or the right premise, and that could be the thing between you being a club comedian forever and you being in arenas.
Right.
Just that one joke. And even look at Russell. Somebody gonna get hurt real bad. It's just that one joke that went from him being in Toronto to him selling out the world. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's just that's how it is in comedy. So Rogan was actually defending. He did that for the comedians because it happens to me. Like if I've opened for, I won't even name names, but I've opened for big comedians and I've done a sick joke and then he takes it and then it's his because he's on the bigger scale. And then if I do it, oh, you just stole from so-and-so. And I'm like, but you have no clue that I did that joke.
You've had your joke stolen?
Oh yeah. I've had a joke. I'll tell you the joke. I won't say the comedian. And it was recent too. I did a joke about, I make fun of Oshawa a lot for some reason.
Okay, so for those listeners that are in like Western Canada, or for our American listeners, Oshawa is a suburb outside of Toronto, about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, which has a really horrible reputation.
It has a bad reputation, but shout out to everyone that's from Oshawa, because I know there's some Oshawanians listening to this podcast.
So it's like to equate it to, like, Canada doesn't really have like not a lot of rednecky areas, but it's an area where
it's Canada's trailer park.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Okay?
Canada's trailer park.
It's Canada's trailer park. So basically, I was talking about going to a strip club at Oshawa, and I said if this was a strip club or a haunted house, and I said that, right? I'm sorry, Oshawa, but
no, you're not. It's awesome though.
Fix the places anyway. And if you don't, and anyone that lives there knows which place I'm talking about. Anyway, so I did it in front of this comedian. Next thing you know, this guy's on Arsenio Hall, and he does that joke. But
does he change the cities?
He changed the city and where it was, but it's the same joke.
Wow.
So I get tweeted, hey, you know that joke you do about the haunted house? Man, that's so-and-so's joke. And I'm like, wow. And just like that, it's their joke. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the difference between music and it's easy for the rappers to be like, yeah, I'm just paying homage, man. I'm paying homage to Mace. But what it really is I didn't have time to write a verse, so I just took your verse.
I mean, it happens all the time in hip-hop.
All the time.
I guess maybe in a way it's easier to trace the origin of the lyric in hip-hop because the artists are maybe they're more not more famous, but they're more visible, or the material is easier to digest, like these 4-minute songs or 3-minute songs or this feature that's 60 seconds, as opposed to a lot of comedians who aren't quite as famous as the other ones. There's like, I don't know, 20 famous stand-up comedians where there could, there's like 100 famous MCs or
it's weird
200.
Though. It's weird because even if like a guy like Drake, who's like the #1 hip-hop artist right now, if he takes your lyric, it almost immortalizes you.
Right.
So people are like, oh, okay, that was a Mace verse. Then they'll go back and listen to the Mace song. So it's almost like Drake, I'm not saying helps Mace, but in a way he does. In comedy, it's not like that. If I steal, if I go on stage and go, somebody gonna get hurt real bad, everyone's gonna boo me. They didn't pay to see me do Russell Peters' jokes. So it's very different. That's why. So yeah, stealing jokes is, you don't, and I remember in my first year when I got accused of stealing a joke, and you do not want that reputation in your life in comedy. It's like being like, you become the homeless person and you'll be like, no one will talk to you, nobody wants to work with you. Like Carlos Mencia, I've heard rumors, like even when I was in LA, there were rumors that like if he was to come into a comedy club, comedians would leave.
Wow.
Like they would be like, I'm not performing if he's here, kind of thing.
That's great. And when with the advent of YouTube, it's like it's easier to find when people buy your stuff because everybody's got a camera phone and everybody's recording everything.
And Rogan did that for every comedian that sits home and writes their stuff, goes out, works it out, only to have it stolen by a bigger name person. You know, just like that, your joke's gone. And now you have to be like, okay, well, guess I got to write another one.
How long does it take you to write a solid 60 minutes? Because I know you had the DVD, which you had the I know what you did last summer, big hook with a piece of meat on it.
Yes.
What was that one called again?
That was Iceman.
Iceman. And then did you have one before that? Was that the first one?
The first one was, you were at the first taping. It was at it was called Face Value.
Right, and it was at the Sony Center at Yonge and Front Street there here in Toronto.
For writing
or St. Lawrence Center, one of the two.
I don't write jokes down. What I do is I'll come up with like, for example, I could tell you, I wrote one. I was looking in the mirror. I was like, I wonder what time of day. Like I look at my face sometimes and I wonder what time of day my face was created, because I feel like at 10 o'clock in the morning to 9 p.m. that's when you're productive. That's when you're up and you're awake and you're doing stuff. And I think that's when good-looking people were made. I think ugly people were made like 1 o'clock in the morning during infomercials. Like remember when you had a science project?
Guy, I was made at 4:30 in the morning.
I was made at like 3. Because I'm just saying. But remember that science project that you knew was due the next day? You waited the day before and you just took like Brussels board and slapped planets on it. That's ugly. Like that's why I feel like big noses and like big ears. Like I'm not blaming God per se, but I think the person that was in charge of the human division up there was like, yo, dude, can you finish this for me? Like I feel that's how ugly people were. Like, why do we have ugly people, Cabbie? Like, why do they exist?
Because everybody needs someone. Everybody will find someone to love.
But why can't we just have different good-looking people? Why does there have to be that kid that will never get to go under the parachute in grade 5? Remember that? Do you remember that kid? Do you remember how that felt?
Of course,
exactly.
Of course, yes.
Why do we have to have that kid? Why should you make someone look a certain way to go through that?
That kid can grow up to blossom into, Brad Pitt or, man, could be Denzel.
Then he must have been made, because if you think about it, like those were the science projects that were made.
Do you know how fat Ryan Seacrest was at like 12? He saw him. He was like 200 pounds. He's like a giant fat kid.
But I'm not talking about fat people.
No. But he didn't look. And I'm sure there are people with like their faces were like full of acne, like it was a gravel driveway.
Fat is repairable. All it takes, that's a diet. Acne, that's just
that could put some lumps in your face, dude.
Yeah, but you lose the weight, you lose all that.
Acne, no, it's not the same.
Truly ugly is not a diet. This is like you might have to ram yourself into a moving vehicle or something. I'm just saying, but that's what I'm talking about. I'll be sitting home sometimes, and I'll just be like, you ever have like, I call these dumb thoughts. You ever just be sitting home and you just get these dumb thoughts?
Of course.
Yeah, and then I'm like, how could I spin this into a joke? That's how I think.
Oh, that's how you come up with stuff.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll be like, or if I'm very observant too. Like I like to observe everything. Like I'm always looking for material. Like if I'm on a bus or if I'm on a subway or if I'm driving or if I'm walking, I'm always looking around to see something.
You're a people watcher.
I have to be.
People watching is one of the greatest activities ever created.
And that's the best way to relate to people, because I love watching people laugh, but I love people point at their friend and go, oh my God, that's true. what he just said. I love that because now I'm watching you relate to what I'm talking about. Like I'm not talking garbage. You are actually relating to what I'm saying.
Last thing before I get you out of here. I think the last time I saw you, we were leaving the government. Were we leaving the D'Angelo show?
Yes.
That was the last time I saw you.
Yes.
Dude, okay, real quick, an aside on the D'Angelo. The D'Angelo show was the first time I saw grown men, like, experience, like, react to an artist like women. Like, I saw dudes put their hands in the air as though they were flailing in the wind, and, like, how my mom will put her hand on her chest and one hand in the air as though she's praising the Lord. I saw grown men do that when D'Angelo, just when he started playing How Does It Feel? Because, you know, the music, it just the first note is, blum.
You know what it is? It's memories, man. It's just high school. It's just reliving. He hooked a lot of dudes up. He really did. That's an amazing song. I hate the video though, but that's a great song.
Because you didn't have the lines. I didn't have the lines either. Those abdomen lines that he
does
had.
not exist on my body at all. Okay, I'll tell you that right. It's
I don't know what those lines are called.
Mine's a W. It's not even a V.
Mine is an O. So that night when we left, I asked you because when you do your impressions of like your culture or whatever, and some of these new brothers that come to Canada, they say the word Charlie as opposed to man or dude.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, but like when
okay, people don't know what he's talking about. Africans always say Charlie. Like they always like they'll be like, hey, we have to go to dance, Charlie. Like who is Charlie, dude? My dad used to say that all the time. My dad would be like, you know, Frank, when you're talking to girls, you have to know what you are saying. Hey, Charlie. I'm like, who is Charlie? Is that my middle name? Like, who is that? But people, I used to tell Russell that all the time. Like, when you do an African accent, Russell, add Charlie. He's like, what is that? And then he heard an African guy do it. He's like, yo, that's so funny. I'm like, just say Charlie or Charlie at the end of your thing or whatever you're doing, and trust me, it amplifies your accent.
Man, thank you for amplifying this podcast.
Thank you, Charlie.
At Comedian Tricks with 2 X's, no underscores, all one word on Instagram and on Twitter. Thank you for passing by.
Thank you, Charlie.
It's his favorite day of the week, and these are his dues. Time now for My Guy Mondays.
A member of Canada's men's basketball team in 2000, playing at the Sydney Olympic Games alongside a teammate of Steve Nash's. He's seen on NBA TV in Canada and increasingly heard on Toronto Raptors broadcasts as a clean and deeply knowledgeable voice as the color announcer. Sherman Hamilton, welcome to My Guy Mondays.
Thanks for having me, Cabbie. What does a clean...
You don't stumble. Like, you never make mistakes.
See, you raised the bar really too high right now. If I start to trip up, what does it look like?
You don't ever do it. Like,
that is not true, and you know it.
What do you mean? So okay, but even like the last time we hung out, we were at Kevin Weeks' house. He has a summer party. I think I had like some kind of sauce on my face from the hamburgers we're eating at Holy Chuck's. And
I was eating them too.
Right, and there was a guy who was telling us about how much he was crushing on the Tinder app, and then like some of the girlfriends and wives showed up, and then like nobody skipped a beat. Like I would have been stumbling and stuttering like I was talking to the police, but the rest of you dudes you guys are just suave about it.
It's about reps. When you get the reps
That's what I need. I need reps. I gotta show and prove. I love that.
You're killing me already.
Well, that's just because I'm an idiot.
Are people going to be able to hear this?
Of course.
Oh, man. I got to slow down then.
Hey, so did you go to Halifax with Akil?
I did.
So you were on a leg during the preseason with the Toronto Raptors, and they went to the East Coast, and they played one or they had inter-squad games, right?
Yeah.
So when you do you allow yourself to form relationships with the guys on the team, or do you have to maintain like a barrier because you have to evaluate them, and sometimes you have to criticize them?
Yeah, I look at it like this. We're human beings, first of all. I have a job to do. They have a job to do. They know what my job is. I know what their job is. I try to talk about their job. My thing is relationships, if they don't develop organically in a natural way, I don't really force it. So I don't look at it as, I try to stay away from these guys because I have to be professional, because I can be professional and be cool with them. And that's how I see it. Now, I do think that it can't affect your job. You've got to.
It cannot, or it
you
can.
You can't allow it to affect your job.
Your relationship with the player.
Right.
Okay,
You've got to be. If you've got to be critical of a player that you may be cool with, you still have to be critical because that's your job.
Do you think they understand that though?
I don't think players do, at least publicly. Privately, I think they'll get it, but publicly they don't. And I have yet to have a player come up to me and say, "Hey, thanks for noticing what I do out there." But you do have players and sometimes coaches that have an attitude when you say something that might be critical of them. So I've learned that, it doesn't matter because they're never going to give you credit for the good things you say. So I'm just going to say what I have to say, right?
Right. So they're only going to take objection if they're if you say something constructively critical or overtly critical.
Right. And to me, that's human instinct. And to find a balance in that, that's not my job. My job is not to find a balance in, whether or not a player or a coach likes me or likes what I say. I think ultimately, for me, it's about saying what I have to say from what I see, not trying to be overly analytical, but trying to clarify things the way I see it. And once I do that, yeah, it might come out on the wrong side of the ledger for some people, but ultimately, I have a job to do, and I just find that when you're more honest and consistent and direct with what you say, there's more respect. And ultimately, that's the bottom line. If you get respect, you don't really need people to like you.
So if you have I've asked this actually at the same party, at Kevin Weeks' party, I invited a hockey player, and he said he wanted to come, but at the time his public perception was taking a little bit of a beating.
Okay.
And he was he was kind of known as a partier, and I guess people who really follow hockey can read between the lines and know who I'm talking about. So he said I don't know who's going to be there, and it's probably not going to be a good look for me to go there just in case there are people there who I don't know. So when I brought the story up to a couple of former players, to Mike Johnson and Jamie McLennan, I asked them, as former players, do you feel compelled to protect the shield because you're part of the fraternity of professional athletes? When some guys will screw up, some guys will have bad games. Do you feel the innate you have to protect them? You are a former collegiate player. You played on our national team. Do you feel the same pressure sometimes?
I don't. I honestly don't. Because I don't really worry about off-court stuff. I hear it. I see it a lot of times, but to me...
Do you want to participate in it? I do.
I know you do, and you probably have. We've had a few discussions, so I'm sure you have. But for me,
check your phone. I just sent you a picture.
Easy. What are you trying to do to me right now?
What do you mean? But it's not you sending me pictures. You're just receiving.
You're not sending me anything, all right?
Sharing is caring.
Lose my number. No, but I do think, for me, and this is where I think sometimes in the media, with what I do, it kind of gets blurred. Unless what you do off the court affects what you do on the court, me as an analyst, I shouldn't really care. I'm still human. I still get it. I see things. I hear things. You're connected to people who tell you stories. You have all that information. But my job is to analyze what you're doing on the court.
Got it.
And, for the player you're talking about, I get it. I mean, there's a fraternity. You want to protect fellow athletes. You do want to make sure that, because I've never played in the NBA, but when you've kind of played on a higher level and you see how things can be misconstrued, you really want to make sure that what you're saying is not betraying what you know about that side of it. So, you try to be honest, you say what you have to say, you're critical, sometimes you're not critical, but ultimately, all that other stuff, the partying and all that stuff, that's not for me to break down. I can't break down.
What if that affects a guy? What if that affects a guy's performance?
Now we have a problem. Because that becomes a part of the reason as to why the performance is lacking. So, yes, you have to discuss that, but do I have to delve into my personal opinions and of what that person is doing? No. I can clarify, maybe what you're doing off the court is affecting what you're doing on the court. But for me to delve into why you're doing those things off the court and how you choose to manage your time, that's really not for me. And I try to stay away from that.
What if a player is embroiled in a controversy, and you know that it's people talk about it all the time, like, say, going back to my dude, I'm a card-carrying member of Team Kobe Bryant, and when I met Kobe,
you're heavy, I know.
I am physically very heavy, and also
I'm talking about you roll with some big dogs.
No, I don't roll with Kobe. I don't roll with Kobe. We've had one dinner, like one time out. I have known the dude for like 8 years.
But hold on, that's the equivalent of somebody ever winning the lottery.
No, it's not.
Okay, I exaggerated a bit.
I mean, we didn't tongue kiss.
Did you try? Did you ask?
I maybe implied it.
Oh man,
it didn't go so well.
This area is a bit too close right now. We need some more distance between us. Oh man. Wow.
Okay, so I'm a card-carrying member of Team Kobe Bryant. But so when I met him, he had just gone through all his entire ordeal in Colorado. In that whole season, the 2004-2005 season, he was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So obviously, when he goes to different towns, the announcers probably have to feel compelled to make reference to it because he's embroiled in that thing.
Right.
Do you ever and sometimes we as a public, we get story fatigue. The way that social media is, like, after 24 hours of a story, like, we get fatigue.
Right.
Something doesn't have legs anymore. But if there's a player going through something and they roll into town, do you feel the need? I'm trying to think of a current day example. Like, just say the Knicks were recently here to play a preseason game, and last year there was an implied tension between Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire. So when they play in Toronto, do you feel like you have to talk about those kind of things?
Well, I do have to talk about it, but just from the perspective of how do they fit on the court, and without getting too analytical, I mean, Carmelo's playing the 4 sometimes, Amari plays the 4. How are they going to kind of separate and create space for each other, play together? In terms of the beef they have, I don't really care, because ultimately you're wearing the same jersey, you're trying to win a championship, and if you can't figure it out because of your feelings towards each other, then that's not good. So all of that stuff, I understand it's a part of it. You mentioned the Kobe thing. I think the Kobe thing was such a big event because it was legal. There were a lot of
okay, fine.
There were a lot of there was a lot of different levels to that, but in terms of what he did, I don't care. I'm not trying to break down why Kobe did or didn't do what they say he did. My thing is, when he hits the floor, what is he doing for his team? Now, producers, you've got to tell the whole story. You've got to kind of give the backdrop. If Kobe was flying into Toronto to play and he just flew from a court case, you're going to give the backdrop to maybe kind of lay the foundation of if he's fatigued, if he doesn't really have the energy, all that kind of stuff. But to delve into that, I don't think that's really something I'd want to do.
Okay, let me bring it closer to home. Just say this year, and the basketball season for the Raptors starts on Wednesday. Just say this year the locker room is divided. Like in there's a player who becomes like Rajon Rondo-esque, where
all right.
The veterans can't get to him. He's and they need him to play well in order to win, but there's a division. There's Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce on one side, and Ray Allen's kind of in this ether, and then there's Rajon Rondo. So just say that happens in Toronto. I don't know. Kyle Lowry is beefing with Rudy Gay, whatever it is. How? And you're a former athlete. I mean, shout out to Virginia Commonwealth and that Final Four. 3 years ago?
Yeah.
How as you as a color announcer, and these relationships will play out on the court. How do you cover that?
Well, I don't think. Again,
do you bring it up? Do you and just say you have knowledge, but maybe it's not quite public knowledge?
Yeah, when I have knowledge that isn't public knowledge, I'm not into breaking stories.
Okay, But what if it's affecting how they play on the court, Sherman?
Well, I think there are different ways to get that message out. I don't think, because unless you're in the room hearing the conversations,
okay,
you don't have the exact details. A lot of times in the media, we get information second, third, fourth hand. It's broken telephone at that point.
Right.
And you can't really go by that information and use it as legitimate. So you've got to extract the things that make sense logically. And when I do that, I find that you've got to stay away from specifics. Now,
just super vague, like that's broad strokes.
It's just tough to be very specific about something you don't have specific
information
that's
true.
About,
yes, of
right?
course, yeah.
So I think you've got to say what you know in the sense that you're not in the room. Now, saying that can be difficult, if that makes sense to you. You can't say specifically what's going on because you don't know, but you can say what you think is happening. And when you put it as something you think is happening and it's affecting something on the court, then I think that you've covered yourself. But you can't be specific and say stuff that you don't know is happening for sure. So if you say Kyle Lowry and Rudy Gay have a beef and it's affecting them on the floor, the first thing I'll do is I'll see if it's really they're trying not to pass the ball to each other, they're not setting screens for each other, moving away from each other. Then you talk about why that hurts the team. And then if there's real reason that that something's happening behind the scenes, then I think you can allude to that. But I don't think you start with saying that. My job is to break down the game.
Have you become sort of and a lot of people do this, it's like you become like a body language expert. I mean, you sit courtside
I am a huge.
You can read people like that.
Well, I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I think body language to me is more information than communicating verbally sometimes.
Makes sense, yeah.
So body language to me is a huge indicator of a lot of information, and I pay attention to that stuff. And some things guys won't say, but they'll show you.
Have you ever seen a player quit? Have you ever seen when the guy's totally not just checked out in a game, but maybe just checked out in a season?
Oh yeah.
Like who? Give me a name.
No, I'm not going to give you a name.
Come on, Sherman. This is My Guy Mondays.
I'm not going to give you a name.
Forget that you're part of the fraternity.
Listen, the day you add me to your fraternity, we'll talk.
You don't want to be part of the fat guy fraternity. You don't want to be Epsilon cheesecake.
Well, listen.
Phi Beta fat guy.
I've been in shape too long in my life. I've got to experience the other side, man. Like, come on.
You can't be. You're right. You can't be 160 pounds for your whole life. You can't be 6'3", 160 pounds.
What are you trying
forever.
to say, man?
You're 160 pounds.
I'm not 160 pounds.
Dude, yeah, you are. Friggin' Jay Billis would describe it. He's long. He's got good length. He's got great athleticism.
What are you talking about, basketball?
Yeah. If you're, I think I am. If you're on the draft board, those are the kind of attributes that Jay Billis would give you.
I'm in shape. Listen, I'm in shape.
Yeah, it's awesome to be 160. It'd be great. I was 160 when I was 11.
What, are you double that now?
At least.
Are you really? No, you lost weight.
Yeah, but I'm still like over 3 bills.
No, you're not.
I know.
Whatever,
that's a lie.
man.
That's a lie.
And I'm over 2 bills, so back off.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
No, you're not. Do you have like a little daddy belly?
Listen.
Under that black sweater?
Let me explain something to you.
Because we haven't seen you on a court. Like I think I played in a charity event with you in like 2005, but I haven't seen you.
And I was thoroughly impressed with your skill.
I had no skill. All I did was just get rebounds. I was trying to be Ben Wallace.
So did Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
And then at that point, you were a bit more girthy.
Yeah, a lot more. I was like 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah. So you were clearing space out. Intentionally or unintentionally, you were clearing space out.
Dude, I was Anthony Mason, friggin' who was the other guy that played? Oh my gosh, who was the Rick
Mahorn?
Rick Mahorn.
Yeah,
he was a big dude.
Have
Anthony
you seen
Mason.
him lately?
No, is he huge?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Like is he like Tony Gwynn huge? You've seen Tony Gwynn as a giant.
Yeah, Rick Mahorn's a good guy, but
like
the problem with athletes, and you know this. They eat because they burn up so much calories when they play professionally.
Mm-hmm.
When they retire, they don't change those habits, but they're not burning up the calories. That's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem. And so
I think the one guy I can think of that went the other way is Jeff Saturday, who was a long time. I think he was a center for the Colts, like Peyton Manning center for like 10, 12 years. That guy lost like 60 pounds. He doesn't even look like himself anymore.
That's great.
But he's one of few that go the other way.
Right.
Most guys just blow up, like Sean Kemp.
Yeah, you're right.
That dude looks like he's about 4'10".
And I'll tell you this, because of my frame, you will never be able to tell when I get fat. I will be the fattest skinny guy on the face of this earth.
Right. I know. I have a couple of skinny fat guy friends.
Yeah, that's me. And, it's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Until you take your clothes off.
So, okay, so the Raptors season starts on Wednesday, and I know you get asked this all the time because fans just have an interest in their team. I get asked this. I always measure my expectations. Okay, I'm from Toronto. You're from Toronto, and I like the Raptors. But my expectations are I don't want to be too much of a fanboy because there's just so much talent in the NBA.
Right.
And there's so much talent on other teams.
Absolutely.
How measured are your expectations about this team?
I'd like to think I'm realistic.
So what does that mean as far as your realistic expectations of how the Raptors will perform in 2013, 2014?
Well, I think they can fight for a playoff spot. Sixth might be a bit high, but potentially sixth. Seventh or eighth definitely in reach. They could fall outside of that as well. Like, for me, I think last year was a clear indicator of the start that they had going 4-19, how much that affected what they were able to accomplish for the rest of the year. They need to have a good start. They need to get a confident start off. And I think if they can do that, when losing comes, because it's going to come, every team goes through it. When losing comes, if you have enough of that buffer in front of you, then it doesn't seem that depressing. You know what I mean?
Great choice of words.
Like when you go 4-19 and you have a 2-3 game losing streak after that, it hurts.
Yeah. One last thing. I was listening to Bill Simmons and Jalen Rose, and Jalen's such a good dude. They had on the Grantland Network, they had their season preview, and they spent a good 12 minutes on the Toronto Raptors. Bill Simmons has a theory that Masai Ujiri is going to come in. He already got rid of Bargnani's contract, shipped him to the New York Knicks. Bill believes that Rudy Gay is the first item of business for Masai and his regime to get rid of Rudy Gay. Do you believe that theory?
Well, Bill Simmons is a big analytical guy, and the numbers don't favor Rudy. I will say this. Rudy Gay, forget the numbers, is a guy who potentially can take the next step. And by that I mean, with Rudy Gay's skill set, his athleticism, he can take that step from a very good player to an all-star caliber player. I don't know how the numbers translate or if they can predict that, but I will say the potential is there. And if you're Masai Ujiri, you've got to decide, is Rudy Gay the guy you feel can make that next step? Because his number is fairly high. And
the salary, yeah.
So if you're going to pay that kind of money for a guy, you want a guy who's going to be on that upper echelon level. I think Rudy has a potential. Now, I still believe in the eye test, what the gut tells you. I believe in analytics as well, but there's a part of me that's still old-fashioned and says, when you see a guy play, it can tell you a lot of things. A lot of people think I'm wrong. But Rudy Gay, to me, is a guy this season with the added weight and the strength that he's put on. Can he get to the next level? And can he help his team get there? It makes no sense for him to be on that next level and his team still losing. A lot of guys in the history of the NBA have raised their numbers, but their teams haven't really done any much better. So he's got to be a guy that gets better, gets his team better. And I think that's where Masai has to make his decision. As far as what Jalen and Bill are saying, I didn't hear it, so I don't know kind of where they're coming from. But I personally think Rudy Gay is a guy who can get to the next level. He's just got to get there now.
Rudy Gay's making almost $18 million this year. Shout out to Jalen Rose when I sent him a text. I love that he repped King Street West. He has this bit where he calls champagning and campaigning, where he talks about the nightlife in every city, and it's awesome. Some
What did
cities.
you say about Toronto?
He said King Street West is live.
Okay.
I've been in I went to a club once, and there's a club called Fluid. And Fluid was like a mainstay in
Yeah,
TO. There weren't very many like urban spots, but Fluid was that spot. It had a great Wednesday night and obviously Saturday.
I remember that club.
Yeah. And so I went once, and Jalen rolled in. This dude bought a tray of shots. I don't think what did he play, like 2 or 3 years in Toronto?
Yeah.
Like a tray of like Patron. That's above my pay grade. But I enjoyed it like it was my pay grade.
You're supposed to.
Yeah. And Jalen didn't even do a shot. We just had all these girls around, and there I am, like drinking like I'm the one that just paid for all this stuff. Like a absolute rhino.
That's a great play, though, by you.
Yeah, I'm the hanger-on.
Dude, however you get to the
I'm
party.
I'm the remora fish.
However you get to the party, you better party when you're there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Back door or front door with the red carpet. You're inside? Break it down. and listen, for all this talk about, you're kind of the leech and all that, look, you make things happen on your own, man. I've been to places with you where we were in Ottawa, remember?
No.
We were in Ottawa, CIS.
Right.
And you had a whole club shut down.
That's not true.
The dude opened the club for you and the rest of us.
Yeah, our whole group.
No, wait a second. And the DJ played everything you wanted to hear.
Okay.
The silence is beautiful right now. So when you talk to me about being a leech and whatever fish,
remora fish. They eat
please.
the scraps off the shark.
I was eating the scraps off of you opening
That's not
a
true.
club.
That's not true. But you're very kind.
You're so full of it.
Ottawa's a great town.
It is?
And remember Dave Smart was there?
Talk about awkward.
Yeah, Coach Smart was
And
there.
he's awesome. Dave Smart's a great guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He'd be a coach of the Carlton Ravens here in
They just win everything.
Well, I see you Wednesday.
Absolutely. I will see you there Wednesday.
And if I don't see you actually physically at the game, I know that I'll see you on NBA TV because you're always on, and I look forward to hearing your voice on the broadcast. I love Jack Armstrong. You just give a different dynamic, and it's a great way to cover basketball in the game that's emerging in our country and the game that we all love.
I really appreciate that, Cabbie. Always appreciated your support.
It's his favorite day. What could make Cabbie feel this way? My guy, my guy, my guy. Talking about my guy. Mondays.
The first time I met him, he was one of the voices of KISS 92.5. At the time, Toronto's newest top 40 station, circa 1999.
Yep.
He was a radio personality with all kinds of personality who also predated me on television back in 1996 with Fat TV here in the GTA. After several years, he moved to Edmonton, Alberta to launch a top 40 station there called The Bounce around the time that the Edmonton Oilers made their improbable run to the Stanley Cup in 2006, which I went out there to visit him, and this dude just had a bunch of, like, players were just sending him jerseys and
hockey sticks.
Hockey sticks.
Rafi Torres goal-winning hockey stick.
Yeah, I think it was in the San Jose series, right, before in the conference finals.
Yep.
So spending the better part of a decade in Alberta, Quamster moved back to Toronto, and he joins me now. Welcome to My Guy Mondays, Kwame.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate this.
On Twitter, it's Quamster007.
Yeah.
One word, no spaces. And on the Book of Faces, search for Soul on Ice. It's a documentary this dude is getting into. The last time I saw you, I interviewed Wiz Khalifa.
Yes.
And it wasn't, and you were there, and it wasn't good. It was like a 4.5 out of 10. Like my performance was that bad.
You almost broke his hand. You remember that?
Yeah, because the guy weighs 108 pounds. Like if Wiz Khalifa is like 6'4", 108.
I have the audio of that, of him crying like a little girl. You almost broke my hand, Cabbie. I just looked at it, I was like, really? Lyrically speaking, you sound like a guy that wouldn't phase.
And you know what? Just before that, I interviewed Adrian Peterson, and I know that guy has an iron grip, like an iron claw.
Right.
So I was I have to get you have to be prepared for when you shake Adrian Peterson's hands because he's gonna crush all your metacarpals. So for Wiz, I I just, you know,
You shook his hand like a man.
Yeah.
Okay, you gave him a man handshake, and he couldn't handle
and
it.
it felt like baby powder. It was just so brittle, just so soft.
Dainty. Rappers should not have dainty hands. It's not a part of the repertoire.
Kwame, have you ever had a subpar interview, or dare I say like a really crappy one? Because mine was in between subpar and really crappy.
I've had some pretty bad ones. One that really stuck in my head that I couldn't believe was a question. You ever had one of those where you asked a question, you said to yourself, I cannot believe I asked that person that question?
Of course.
I was interviewing Puff Daddy and Mace, and this is right after Biggie had died, and Puffy, Mace, the whole family was here for Caravana.
I remember I went to that show.
We called that Puffabana.
I remember
he
that.
took over that city.
Yeah, in '97.
Yes. I said to Puff Daddy, how do you feel after the death of Biggie Smalls? He looked at me and said,
that was your question?
Yeah.
Come on, calm stare.
He said to me, how do you think I felt? I was like, yeah, okay, let me, so this new album. So that was the one.
So
that
Victory,
always,
how do you,
that was just dumb. But, you know, I don't know. I was kind of shook back then, you know. A lot of, when you just start out in the business and you're doing interviews with people, you're like, you haven't really gotten the idea of, I'm asking a question that millions of people want to know. At that point, I was just like, I wanted to know his feeling. I genuinely wanted to know his feeling, because I think at that same time, I don't want to get all sad, but my brother had passed away earlier around that time, and I know how I felt, and for some reason, I just wanted to get that from him. Like, what was your emotions like? And I thought it was a valid question, but, it just looked stupid. He just looked at me, him and Mace. I think Mace was just like, who's this guy?
I was saying to somebody recently that, in reference to Toronto, you called Puffabana, that Toronto hadn't really been cool in hip-hop until like recently. So and I want you to tell this Wu-Tang story, but I remember in like the late 90s, maybe it was like 98.
Right.
I think it was like Capadonna who had the song, and I don't remember what it's called, or maybe it was the chef Raekwon.
Ice cream you're talking about?
No, but there was a like, I think it was Capadonna. He would say like, if you in Maryland, check. If you in Baltimore, check. And he said, if you in Toronto, check. So we're like,
I could tell you something right now. The reason why Capadonna was really taken by Toronto, and he talked about Toronto a lot, is because of a girl who lived in Pickering. I know this girl, and they had their little thing together.
They had relations?
They had relations. I can't remember what song was it. It was him. It wasn't Ice Cream, but it was one that was Caramel. I think it was called Caramel is the song, and he makes reference to her in that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the first time I heard Toronto in like a hip hop song. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was big.
And then like I feel like 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere in that era, when T-Pain was running like pop music and certainly the R&B sound. T-Pain had a song, and I can't remember what it's called, but he had Justin Timberlake in the remix. And then in the one part, T-Pain's like, I can put you in a condo way up in Toronto.
Yes.
So we're like, oh,
That's big.
and then
Name
Drake
drop it.
exploded. Drake just is a meteor through the universe. He is just on fire.
Yeah.
And that dude, and shout out to Drake. Happy birthday to Drake.
Happy birthday, Drizzy.
Put on a great concert at the Air Canada Center. Had the Instagram the picture of his birthday cake with the leaning CN Tower of Pisa. It's kind of leaning a little bit. It's got its shoulder lean. And you guys can on Instagram it's Champagne Poppy. You've been in music a lot longer, urban music, than most people I know. I mean, Kiss 92.5 was 99.
99.
So that's like a 15-year run. I mean, Fat TV was pop culture and urban culture, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like a 20-year run.
Yeah, when we did Fat TV, the only video outlet we had was Much Music, and they weren't playing some of the stuff that was out of Miami, some of the the early stuff from Master P and that, and we would drop that. We was just
No Limit.
Yeah, we dropped that because it was an independent show. A guy by the name of Eldon Maskell put it together, and we just had no rules. We went up to Miami for How Can I Be Down conference, and back then Luke was promoting his strip club, and there'd be girls, and they'd be just bouncing that booty on the car on these.
As people just walking around.
As people were just walking around, they in their little tights and their little bikinis, and we shot that. I remember we put that on CFMT, and we got so many letters and complaints from parents, and we had to edit it out to reshoot that one. But it's so funny because I look at that then, and if you were to put that out now, nobody would even blink.
Dude, I just saw a video talk about not blinking and just talk about the beautiful female form. A friend of mine just emailed me yesterday. It was on the Book of Faces on Facebook. And if you want to check out Kwame, it's search Soul on Ice, a documentary.
Soul on Ice, past, present, and future.
It's a documentary he's working on. But let me get to this part with the females, because I don't think in your documentary you have females that look quite like this particular woman I'm trying to describe. It was just slow motion. It was 47 seconds. Just a girl jumping up and down.
Jeez.
Kwame, honestly, it's amazing. It's just honestly, she's top heavy and voluptuous. It's if we're looking at letters in the alphabet, we're gonna stop on D.
Really?
Yeah, and she's wearing a red bikini, beautiful girl, and she's just honestly just bouncing up and down. It's honestly,
Does that make you okay? So how long was the video?
47 seconds.
Did you watch the full 47 seconds?
I watched it more than once.
Why though?
What do you mean why?
Okay,
Kwame, what do you mean why? Because it's amazing, dude. Everything was better in slow motion.
The top half, I don't really want to see it bouncing around so much.
The bottom half, the
booty, man, bounce that because
don't stop. Don't. What you working with?
The first time I ever seen a girl, I mean they call it twerking now, but the first time I ever seen a girl flex the butt muscles, right, left, up, down, was in Miami, and this was like in 95, and I swear to you, I was in Luke's strip club, and I looked at that, and I said, I did not know booty could do that. And I was literally fascinated by it. I was literally not, I wasn't...
Wait, were you that composed when you asked him? I did not know the booty could do that.
I said to myself, wow, oh, okay, wow, and it's... okay, and it's going, what? They could, and I was looking at people, I said, it could do that? I didn't know it could do that, and I just thought, that's why, I think that's when I put the stamp and said, the greatest creation God ever made was women.
So, Drake.
Jersey.
Puts on for his city, reps Toronto so hard.
Yeah.
When did you become aware of Drake?
I heard about him through the whole Degrassi. I wasn't a real fan of the Degrassi, the new one.
Like the show.
The show.
But when did you hear about him as an artist?
Probably
around, like an emerging artist.
Around 2005, 2004, 2005. I started hearing a lot about him when I was in Edmonton, and
wow.
People started talking about him. I would hear about him, and then I would call back home, and I would talk to some friends, and they were like, yeah, this kid. And I had a friend who must have worked with him in the studio before, and everybody was talking about this kid. And the first thought for me was, okay, let's see, because I'm from a generation where one day, day prior and the life prior, there was no hip hop, and then all of a sudden one day there's hip hop. Kids of this generation grew up knowing rock, hip hop, techno, dance, whatever. That's just a part of their life. But you have to imagine a time when there was no hip hop, and then all of a sudden it comes. So, being a part of that generation and being in Toronto, I've seen the likes of Kilowatt, TKO Sound Crew, Mishi Me, Maestro, Lady P, that whole group of people.
Ghetto
Concept, Infinite, Jellystone, some very Daniel, Monolith Crew, the Circle Crew, some very talented people that tried their hardest to break through the international waters, and America just never let them have a piece of that pie. And you got to think this has been going on for 15, 20 years. And all of a sudden, this kid, boom, smashes the door down. That, to me, is an amazing. You have to imagine, say a million people try to get into your house, and your door's locked down solid. A million people, and they have not been able to get through that door. Then all of a sudden, this kid walks up and he opens the door. What was that story with the kid with the sword, and he pulls it out of the rock?
Arthur?
Is that him? King Arthur? Was that the one?
Yeah, he pulls out Excalibur out of his cup. Yeah,
that's Drake. That's Drake.
Have you seen the movie The Purge?
Is that a scary movie?
It's amazing. It's about like when you said when you said the thing about a million people trying to come to your door. The Purge is for 12 hours a year.
Right.
You can there are no penalties on crimes.
Right.
You can do whatever you want. So it reminded me of that. I just saw The Purge on Saturday. It was awesome.
But to me, that Drake is King Arthur, man. That's wow. That just blew your mind. I just came up with that. Okay, I just broke that down right now and let it be known that I say that Drake's new nickname should be King Arthur.
Ooh. Okay.
If I see him, I'm gonna tell him.
That OVO Excalibur sound.
We're blowing minds right now.
We are. First time I heard about Drake was in 2008. I was late to the game, and I heard that he was writing for Dr. Dre.
Right.
And I went to a New Year's Eve party in Los Angeles in 2008.
Right.
Going into 2009, I was at the Wiltern Theater with Jarrett Stoll of the LA Kings, who was a member of your Edmonton Oilers.
He's a good dude to hang out with.
Great dude. So we were there, and Dr. Dre was in a booth, maybe 3 booths down. And then, so I was like, I'm going to go say what's up to Dr. Dre. This guy's a legend.
We're wearing his headphones. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly. So I approached Dr. Dre. I don't think I've ever told this story. I approached Dr. Dre. I'm like, hey, Dr. Dre, my name's Cabbie. May I have a photo with you? He's like, sure. He was kind of mean mugging a little. I had to ask his security guy first, and then we took the photo, and I said, hey, I know you're working with Drake. I'm from Toronto. He's from Toronto. And I heard he's super talented. He goes, that he does have talent. Right. So he co-signed him, and you're hearing that from Dr. Dre. Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Dre, who
Dr. Dre,
who who someone gave him Eminem's cassette tape out of a box, and then now we have Eminem. And then years later, I don't know how we discovered 50 Cent, but then we got 50 Cent, and there was another force in hip hop. So
I think it was more Eminem who found 50 Cent. It's kind of like the same way, just through the mixtapes.
Oh, really?
But the best part of what you just said is you said, "Hey, Dr. Dre, hey." Can I get a picture with you?
Hey, I don't care about being a fanboy. I'll 100%.
You did not roll up and say, "Yo, what up, Dre? Yo, Dre, what's
going
on?"
No, never. Listen, I will.
Real. I love that about you.
Listen, I'm not gonna try to be like super macho. Listen,
good for you.
This guy's a legend. I'll revere him, give him his due praise.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay, so you mentioned Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
And we did mention the wonderful female shape bouncing, just doing acrobatics on Cadillacs and in strip clubs in Miami.
Yeah.
Did you see Puffy on Ellen recently?
I did not.
But so Ellen is awesome. She's an unbelievable talent, and she likes to dance, which is great. It's very funny. So she was doing
dance, but she loves to dance.
Right. So she was doing this dancing game with Puff. So you have 45 minutes, and they. Ellen will take a card, show Puff the name of the dance, and Puff will have to dance in that style. And she will have to guess what dance he's trying to do. So
I don't like where this is going.
So there's the moonwalk.
Boom.
There was the hula dance.
Boom.
There was several, and one of them was
the Batusi?
No.
Okay.
No, they didn't.
That's a good dance.
That reminds me of the word Badussi, which is shout out to
Badussi.
Shout out to oh my gosh, Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac in I can't remember what movie, but it smells like Badussi in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then at the end, Puffy twerks. Have you ever, as a grown man or even as an adolescent youth, have you ever shaken yourself like that?
No. No.
When you dance, Kwame, do you pull out the 2-step, or do you one of those dudes that just holds up the wall?
I don't really dance, because like Ice Cube said, dancing's for the guys with the funny haircuts. So I was.
But women will kind of make us do anything.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like if I'm in a club, and the woman wants to I'll dance with the woman. But I'm not that guy that's going to be with my crew of dudes dancing. I don't do that. But dance with the female, yeah. Actually, I can't say I don't do the solo dance because I went to that Amnesia party. Starting from scratch was a DJ.
When was it?
Like last month.
Okay. And you're out there, doom, doom,
Big
doom,
Daddy
doom,
Kane was.
doom.
They,
Oh, okay,
they were
no.
throwing beats, man, and you know I had to.
What, did you do like the Running Man, Cabbage Patch?
Nah. You see those dances. The shame about those dances was that they were authentic moves. You took out the Cabbage Patch. You brought out the Running Man. You brought out the
you thread the needle.
That was a move.
Yeah.
Then when a certain group of people got a hold of it, it just became comical. The Cabbage Patch became comical. Do you know the first time you'd seen the Cabbage Patch on TV?
Probably Will Smith did it in Fresh Prince.
First person to bust the Cabbage Patch was Janet Jackson. Video was called Control. YouTube it.
Oh, okay.
She goes up on a chair, comes down, and busts. It looks so cool. Watch it.
I remember. Okay, yeah. I thought you meant like TV, like in a TV show. Because Will Smith would just bust out all kinds of dances, and then Carlton had his.
It just looks clownish now. So Running Man was a move. So there was a time when I went to a club and I bust the Running Man, and I was serious.
Was there ever a time that you and a couple of your dudes would pull out some like New Edition stuff? Because if it isn't love,
I never
why
was that guy.
not feel this way?
I was never that guy. That to me, because I always.
Guy, you're not that dude though. You're not that dude that's a mean mugging in the club. You're not that dude.
I know I'm not that dude, but I'm a mental mean mugger. I'm from the school of Timbos and my Trayvons. And my Trayvons is my shout out to Trayvon Martin with my hoodies.
Okay.
I love Timbos and I wish that just never went away. Like, it's a shame.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the Timbo generation just in a second. Do you remember what dances were called before twerks? Like the dances that females used to do in the clubs in that era.
Well, I mean,
because everybody's on this twerk tip, but like that dance had other names.
Did it have other names though? I mean,
yeah, but the way they used to pop it, like,
oh yeah, the only one I know is like you pop that booty,
pop it, or you back it up, like Mystical.
Right.
Attention, all you players and peers, right now in the place to be. Shake that ass, watch yourself.
Yes, of course.
And then who's homie from you mentioned Master P from that era? Not No Limit, Juvenile. He had. Get the back in, back. Girl, you ain't playing. Back that ass up. Okay,
yeah. So you got your little back, but I don't think there was a specific name like when you say twerk, it's boom, back that ass up is there's different ways to back it up. Twerking is twerking, and the shame about this whole the naming of it called twerking is. And I guess it's just everything comes around, what goes around comes around. First of all, Americans need to hail up West Indians for that dance because we've been West Indian women been doing that dance from time.
We just called it whining.
Yeah, but
just whining.
But what they're doing is nothing. I'm like, again, like I said, when the girls are on their when they're close to the ground and they're on their knees and they're doing the booty shaking and the twerking. Like I said, I seen that in Miami back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So when twerking became this big fad and everybody's talking about twerking, I was like, what? So that's not new.
Let's take it back to the Timberland boots wearing era, where videos like incarcerated Scarfaces,
just that goosebumps, just telling me saying that.
It's
gross. It's gross.
Please tell the audience about the time that you helped bring the entire Wu-Tang Clan to Toronto.
So this has to
be
I want to say like
93 or 94.
Yeah, around them times. There's a guy by the name of Big Apple out here. And he had a little hip hop shop, and he was, promoting shows here and there. And back then, with hip hop shows, are very scandalous.
Were you a promoter also?
No. I was just helping him.
You were on the radio yet, right? Or the TV?
Doing anything. Okay. I was just, I just kind of getting my feet wet in that world, And around that time, again, hip hop concerts were very scandalous. Artists wouldn't show up. You remember a kid named Shaheem?
Yeah, Shaheem, aka the Rugged Child.
I remember he didn't show up for a show. People were getting nuts in the crowd. The promoter got his buddy
to pretend he was Shaheem,
put a hoodie on his head, disguised his face, and he went up there and performed like over lip synced. Shaquille O'Neal was actually there too.
Really?
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal was in the audience?
Spectrum, yeah. He was at the top, yeah. And I remember when they were I was like, I don't want no parts of this, because who is not going to notice that? But so around that time, he was promoting Wu-Tang, and he asked me for some help, and we drove over to Syracuse because they were doing a show there, and the next day was a show in Toronto, and I just remember the worry because it's Wu-Tang and getting across the border, and
some of these guys have records.
And again, this is a big show. This is the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers album. Toronto's been waiting for these guys to come. It's just, that's gonna be the hip hop event. So it was Wu-Tang and Boot Camp Click. So we went to Syracuse, picked those guys up. They had their tour van, their tour bus.
So how many dudes are you talking? I mean, because there's like 9 members in the crew, but then like how many other people on the periphery were there?
I think there would have been about close to 17 people on that bus. We went on the bus because the first thing I was saying was like, we just got, this is the border. We can't play. And I know these guys are smoking. So we went on, and this place was a pigsty.
Oh, my goodness.
It had Philly blunt ashes all over the rug, the whole 9 yards. So we vacuumed it out. We made sure to clean this thing up. So we go ahead of them, go across the border, and we wait on the side of the road. And we're just looking back. 10 minutes gone, no Wu-Tang bus. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, about 25 minutes pass, the bus comes.
And you guys are sweating. You guys are like, oh, these guys are going to get pulled over. They're going to get searched. They're going to get turned back.
They get across, and, old dirty bastard, everybody's screaming out the window. Everybody's hyped. We bring them to Toronto, and it's the only time in Wu-Tang history where all 9 members were on stage together. There's a videotape of it. I had a tape. I don't know where it is, but there's a videotape of it. If someone had that, I would love to see that on YouTube.
What was the venue?
It was I can't remember what Cool House used to be called.
I can't remember either. So there's a club in Toronto. I guess in those days, what the government nightclub is, it used to be called RPM. And there's a space next to it. I can't remember either.
But it was the most beautiful venue. It was packed to the brim, and it was like I said, when it comes to that era of hip hop, like, it's just goosebumps. I just remember when Raekwon got up on stage, and it was just insane how he would just control that crowd. And when Method Man came up to bat, oh my God, like, people were just going just bananas, especially when he did METHOD Man. I just thought to myself, this is Wu-Tang to me is the kiss of hip hop, and it's just a shame that they never were able to business wise realize that they were like hip hop's superheroes, just like Kiss was rock superheroes, made up like it was the Shaolin Temple.
Yes, that would be pretty cool.
Ninjas
you can't get them. They're like never together. Like the whole crew.
It's a shame.
It's like impossible to get those guys together. Everybody's got different schedules. Some dudes aren't motivated. Some guys don't even probably even interested in music anymore.
It's, to me, it's that idea of guidance. There was no trusting business guidance to understand what they had. I still believe that Wu-Tang does not get their just dessert, and a lot of it had to do with themselves, not the industry, but them as people.
Yeah. One of these Halloweens, I'm gonna go as Bobby Digital, and no one's gonna understand what my outfit is, so I'm just gonna have to explain it to people. I'm Bobby
Are you gonna
Digital.
do the mask?
Yeah, I gotta go the full thing.
You're gonna do the long nails, the golden nails.
I gotta find that CD case again.
Yeah, he's got the golden nails. But the Tao of Wu. If you have not read that book, pick that book up from the RZA. That's incredible.
Halloween. Can I tell you a quick Halloween story?
Give it to me.
A lot of people went out on the weekend for Halloween, and this is like Halloween is like it's Thursday, October 31st. Some people went out. This past week was like 26 or 27.
People are going out right now.
Yeah. So I went people watching last night. People watching on Saturday night.
Me, man.
It was amazing. People watching is just so much fun.
Love it.
So I watched a couple movies, and I was like, I'll go to see my boy at this night called Nude. Just listen to some good music, and then people watch. So I'm walking down Queen Street West and King Street West, and there are just people everywhere. It's jammed, and there are so many outfits that were not weather appropriate. It's cold. And it was cold last night, and girls are in like, I didn't see anything outrageous, but girls were in like, the nurse or the cop, but the cop has like shorts.
So original.
But I love it. Listen, you still love hamburgers with cheese, don't you?
No doubt.
Yeah.
No
okay?
doubt. No doubt.
Because hamburgers with cheese are delicious.
Right.
You got to stick to the classics.
Yes.
So I saw, and this is the thing that kind of grossed me out. I saw like girls walking in the street with no shoes on. It's like, it's below zero.
They Britney Spears that?
Oh my gosh. And it's like, you're for sure you're going to, like, something's like, you're going to get some ailment. You're going to get some Hep E, in like 12 hours.
You're going to get Hep W.
Yeah.
You're going to do some new Hep.
Yeah. I saw a couple of domestics, which I always enjoy, but I feel so bad for the dude because the dude can't do anything when his woman is calling him out in the street, calling him an a-hole, and I hate you. Like, you can't like try to.
You ain't supposed to.
No, you can't do anything. You can't.
Oh, you yourself. You talking about you or
No,
him?
I'm talking about the dude who's getting yelled at.
Yeah, you got to take it.
You can't put your hand over her mouth. You can't. You can't really shush her because that's just gonna make her go wilder.
Yeah. You just gotta.
I do enjoy watching that misery, but I do feel bad.
It's embarrassing to watch. And I kind of, you just kind of like, hey, come on, guys. You guys just calm down. You guys just calm down.
And then you kind of have to linger just to make sure it doesn't escalate.
I don't know if this is appropriate for your show, but how much sex do you think goes on a night like that?
Halloween is probably the best night of the year for people partying because I think Halloween, people that aren't regular party goers, they'll go out for Halloween.
Yes.
Because it's like an event, and everybody's in a great mood.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have a good time.
Yeah, ladies look good.
Ladies look great.
When I was on the radio, I used to, when there would be a big Halloween night party, I would go on the radio and say, hey, listen, dudes, girls are going to be in some really insane outfits. Just mind your manners. Because it's the one night these girls can just put it all out there.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
And it's so awesome. We have to allow them to do that. Let's just watch. Let's just look. We'll talk, but don't grab up. Don't spoil it because
you're giving out Halloween etiquette.
Yes, because what happens is some idiot will do something, and then there'll be a revolution, and the women are going to say, "We'll never do it again," and that would be it. So.
I saw a girl sent me a picture. She dressed up as Tom Cruise from Risky Business. So it's just dress shirt, socks. You know the movie where he slides across in the living room with and the glasses. And I was like, all your business is out in the street.
It's Halloween in Edmonton. Them girls don't play.
What does that mean?
I'm saying I saw a girl. She went out as Poison Ivy.
Like from the Batman movies, or the Batman comic books.
Yeah, Poison Ivy. She had green short tights on, and her body was painted green. Green short. That's it. She said, I ain't gonna wear no green bra.
Oh, so she was topless except for the green paint.
Just it.
God bless her.
In this type of weather.
God bless her.
Excuse me, would you like a drink?
My Guy Mondays. Quamster on Twitter. It's at Quamster 007 on
Yeah.
Facebook. Check out his Facebook page. He's putting it together a documentary. Once it's finished, he will be back to talk about it. Soul on Ice.
So just before you let you go, I'm going to be starting an Indiegogo campaign to raise
Amazing.
some money
Okay.
for this. It's going to start November 1st, but what I'd like to do is if you would allow me to come back when we're ready to pitch that out there, we could talk to people more. Soul on Ice,
got it.
Past, Present, and Future. It's a documentary about the history and the contributions of blacks in hockey. For those who don't know, in the 1800s, blacks in Nova Scotia had their own league. It was called the Colored Hockey League. Science.
Always educational, always entertaining, and always honest. Quamster.
Yes.
Kwame, thank you for joining me, man.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.